What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Rocky in real time, your favorite expat, and I'm back again. And today, I'm just gonna make part two of that apartments video, man. I saw this dude, Skylar the Ruin. Hope I'm pronouncing your last name right. I saw him. He was talking about some of the frustrations that he was going through, or he's going through right now, renting an apartment in Brazil. I also have another subscriber. I think she's moving here with her husband, and she's looking for apartments and all that other stuff. And other people have asked me this question, both on my YouTube page and my personal life, and just different, circumstances. They've asked me, how you rent an apartment, or like what's the process like, and all that other stuff. And like I said in the first video, I was literally remembering tips, because I literally just jotted stuff down like 15 minutes before recording and cut the camera on, because I've already lived this stuff. So I'm literally just recalling things from memory. But there's a lot of details I forgot, because I went through the process for quite a while. And during that process, a lot happened. So I have to recall a lot. So like I said, I could have been talking about it for hours and hours and hours, but I'm trying to keep my videos just concise and value filled. But I realized that this is a dense topic, so I might have to make, more than one part. But in the first video, if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. I talked about basically the process of finding an apartment, like using these different sites like Quinto Andar, Oelish, Viva Real, Zappy Moves, all these different sites. Like, I talked about how to use those sites, which region in the country each site is good for. And I talked about tips and little things that I wish I knew before I went on the journey of like finding an apartment here in Brazil, right? But I left a few details out, and one of the key things that I didn't talk about in that last video was the documents that you're gonna need, right? So pretty much, right, when you're filing for a permanent residency, and doing a bunch of other things in Brazil, you're gonna need a lot of the same documents. And I forgot to mention, when you're also getting your permanent residency, I forgot to mention this in my previous videos, but this is an extremely important detail. But you can, you don't have to do this for everything, right? When you're getting official documents like your digital nomad visa, your permanent residency, you need to translate your American documents to Portuguese. And these Brazilian agencies, they're only going to accept it from official translators. So you got to go look up whether you're in Rio, Sao Paulo, Salvador, Natal, Curitiba, whatever city in Brazil you're in, you're going to have to find out where they officially translate, because it can't be just someone that speaks English and that translates. It has to be like an official government acknowledged, government recognized translator. So you're gonna have to find that in your respective city, and I'll make a video about that too. And go to them, have the document translated. I think each document costs about 500 reais or so. It depends on where you go too. So it's quite expensive. I think it was between the equivalent of $60 and $100 per document. So it's quite expensive. But yeah, you don't have to use translated documents when renting an apartment, but it would make it a lot easier, right? Because you got the documents in their native tongue. So you know what I mean? And it's officially stamped and sealed by the government recognized agency as an official translated document. So it just makes things easier. It's not necessary. It's not a requirement, not a hard requirement, but your documents that I discussed about, getting your FBI background check, your state and local background check, getting bank documents, proof of residency or proof of address, like a proof of where you live. You got to get all that apostilled in the United States before you come to Brazil. But after you get those apostilled here in Brazil, you got to get them translated by an official translator. Again, you don't for apartments need this, but having your documents officially translated does help. So yeah, that's just one tip. So I just wrote things down, and these are the documents you're gonna need, right? So you're gonna need, of course, your valid passport, right? You gotta prove your proof of citizenship and which country you come from, and along with that, you should have, depending on your purposes of your stay and how long you're gonna stay, you're gonna need a visa, whether it's your digital nomad visa, your permanent visa, or your permanent residency. A lot of buildings or a lot of like leasing companies, real estate companies that rent these apartments and stuff like that, they'll give you trouble and they'll give you a hassle if you don't have like a visa, like a permanent visa, and you want to rent an apartment, especially for like long term. You want to rent an apartment, they'll be like, yo, we need to see a visa, or we need to see your permanent residency. Not all of them are going to do this. It's really dependent on the company. It's better to be safe than sorry. Just get that first. Get that squared away. I made a video about how to get a digital nomad visa, how to get a permanent residency here in Brazil. So yeah, get that squared away first, and come back to this video. So you also need a CPF, and you can't really get any of those things without getting a CPF. So that's basically your cadastro de pessoal. Cadastro de pessoa física. So that's just their individual identification number, and I also made a video about that. Go check it out. So you need that. Even before you get the permit, you gotta have a CPF. So Also, you need proof of income, right? A lot of landlords, especially if you're foreign, are not gonna want to mess with you, are not gonna want to rent to you unless you have a proof of your income, and your income is of a certain threshold, right? Like you're making at least like $2,000 a month, right? Which is the requirement for their digital nomad visa. So they want to see those statements going back at least 6 months. I recommend a year. It's better to do a little bit of overkill, right? So you want to have your proof of income. And if you're self-employed, you might want to actually provide returns and like business financials and all that other stuff, right? Also, this is one thing I encountered, which I had to actually get, which was a reference letter from a real estate company. And, you should get this translated as well. It'll make stuff easier. But so let's just say you had some apartment back in the States that you were renting, and, it was through like a real estate company. And, you paid your rent on time. You never had any problems. Everything was good. You can just go to them and be like, yo, I actually need like a reference letter that I'm a good tenant. And I need your letterhead, and I need it signed by someone up in management here and whatnot, right? And they'll, write it up. It doesn't have to be very long, like a paragraph, like, this tenant was, pristine, left the place clean and all this other stuff, paid his rent on time. Very simple, very basic, very straight to the point letter. Get that. You can get it apostilled if you want to. It's like $10. And, it was very quick for me. Like it took half an hour. So get it apostilled. Like I said, it's better to be safe than sorry. Apostilling is, you have your local government or your city government. For me in New York, I think it was like in Lower Manhattan. You go there, and then they give you like a document, like a cream colored document, and they attach it to your document, put like a staple and an official stamp, all that other stuff. So it's better to have like the more official documents you have in this process, the better it is going to be for you, because you can just be like, here, take that, all that. And because depending on the real estate company and who you rent from, some of them are going to give you hassle about having all these documents as a foreigner. Some of them are not. So it just really just depends, right? So get that reference letter. You can also get that translated as well. And also another thing, if you're coming from, out the blue, you moved to Brazil, you have no family here, no one who can vouch for you, you're probably going to have to pay a security deposit, which is at least 6 months to a year sometimes, right? Because, they don't have any reference of you. You don't have any Brazilian credit. You don't have anything to really like show that you're capable. Even if you are capable, like you can have bank statements and stuff from the US and all that other stuff. But even with that, a lot of times they would ask that you pay a security deposit, right? And one thing about the security deposit is since you're paying a deposit of at least 6 months to upwards of a year, and a lot of the rental contracts, right, they're like 18 months. I don't know why, or is it 18 or 30 months? I think it's between, no, it's 30 months. It's 30 months. They lock you in a contract for 30 months. You don't have to be in that contract. After a year, you can just like leave for free. But if you leave before that year, they'll charge you. They'll charge you whatever, I think it was like 3 months worth of rent or whatever you had left on your lease. So be mindful of that if you want to break a lease out here, that you're going to get charged at least bare minimum 3 months worth of rent, right? Or whatever you had left on your contract, or whatever, how much before the first year. So like if you if your contract, you're 7 months into your rental agreement, your lease, right? And like I said, the first year, they get you in a 30 year, like you lock the price basically in for the 30 months, right? So you lock the price in for 30 months, whatever you guys came to an agreement on and negotiated about, that's going to be the price for 30 months and they can't change it, right? So, but your presence is required for at least 12 months. And if you don't stay the 12 months, I think it depends on the rental contract. It could be they hit you with a 3-month charge of rent, or you have to pay the rest of whatever, is left on that year. So if it's 7 months, you know what I mean? That means you have 5 months left. You might have to pay the 5 months, right? Or depending on the contract, like I said, some people just might charge you the 3 months. Some people might charge you whatever was left, however many months was left on that lease. So be mindful of that. If you like end up like not liking your neighborhood or you want to break the lease, that's what they would require of you, right? Another thing is and that's all you need for the document part. Let me go back into my notes. Also, one thing to be very aware of, since you're paying, and you're most likely going to be paying for 6 months up front, 7 months up front, blah, blah, upwards of a year, whatever you decide. A lot of these landlords might get lazy. Don't let them play with you. Like, listen, but, be very firm. Be very, very firm. Because my landlord, so we paid 6 months the first time, and then 7 months the next time we paid rent, right? About a month in, because you're not going to really notice all these things that you don't like when you move to a place, like when you view a place. You're gonna move to the place, live in it, break your feet in, get your feet wet, and you're gonna see, oh, okay, this faucet is kind of funny, or this is kind of, you know what I mean? After living in a place for at least a month, you're gonna notice some things that you wish you could fix, or you want the landlord to fix, right? There was a door that wasn't closing all the way well, and for our third room, our guest room, right? And I think the shower was spraying weirdly or something, and there's a couple other things that needed to be fixed. Because when I saw this place, I was like, okay, it's close to the beach, I like it. I just said, hey, I want to pay this much, and I want to pay 6 months up front, and I want it now. So they basically rushed to get things done because they were still showing the place, and you know what I mean? And when we came to see this place, there was another woman and her family trying to also look at the place. And I was like, you know what? I do not want to let this one go. And I think also I was just exhausted, because looking for an apartment and finding everything you like in Brazil is, you gotta have some trade-offs, right? There's certain things that you might want to prioritize in finding, and you want to find them all in one place. But there's those other little things that, they're not super important, but you value them to some extent, and you would like to have everything. But I mean, it's going to be rare to find everything. You might find 90, 95% of what you want in an apartment, and you're going to just have to, ask yourself, like, okay, can I live with this for a long period of time? And that's why it's good to just make a list of all the things you want in your apartment, like your dream apartment here in Brazil. I want a balcony, I want to be close to the beach, I want this, that, I want to have amenities, all this other stuff. Write that down and give them each a score, right? Of 1 to 5. 5 being the most important, like you value this the most. 1 being, I don't really, I could live with it, I could live without it. Like, it's not really a priority, right? And give each one of those things a score, and then label them from top down. Like, the highest things, the highest priority things that you want, put them on the top of the list, and, put them in descending order. So, that way, when you look for an apartment, it becomes easier to find an apartment because you know what the priorities are. And because you know what the priorities are, when you see an apartment, you can be like, okay, does it have this? Does it have this? Does it have this? Check, 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 check. Because moving without that list is kind of exhausting, because you're like, okay, this place is cool, but it doesn't have this, it doesn't have that, but it does have this, it does have that. You know what I mean? You're gonna be, kind of ambivalent on places that you should either take or just like let go and like, nah, on to the next. So be organized during this process and have a list of things that you want to prioritize and having in a place here, right? Because you can't really have it all. You can, but it's, depending on the city, it's kind of rare. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I wanted to make this a little bit shorter than the last video because the last video does have a lot of tips. It does have a lot of things that I wish I knew before coming here and renting an apartment. But for this video, I just wanted to add that extra little bit of detail. And let me know in the comments, what do you guys want to see when it comes to renting an apartment, buying property here? What are the things like you want to see about becoming an expat? Let me know in the comments. And also, should I just make a course so I can just, give you guys this information at scale? Like, do you want a course? Do you want to know all the ins and outs of being an expat, from making money to renting an apartment to getting your documents to, how to have, an efficient setup? Like, I know how to basically, without any sort of software, how to make a home network, like how to make a home network and basically take your IP address with you. Like, I know how to have internet in the most remote locations. Like, I know how to do these things. So if you want to see that in a course, let me know, because someone gave me that idea. Someone DM'd me and said that. So I was like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. But until now, or for now, I'm just going to keep on making videos on YouTube. I'm keep answering your questions, keep making sure that I make high value content for you. I care more about quality than quantity. I don't want to have a lot of fluff on this channel. I want you to have every video that you watch on this channel be impactful, and you want to come away from, I want you to come away from watching these videos on my channel with a lot of information. So that's it for now. Shout out Palmeiras. Shout out Endrique. Cool player. I'm like into Brazilian soccer. I'm into soccer in general, football. I've been collecting a lot of jerseys lately. So yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you have a good day. Peace.